Live? Are we live?
I don't know. There's a delay. You know how it goes.
well,
Hell if
well,
I
uh,
know.
well. Let's. We can ask the chat and
All right.
see.
Let me ask the chat.
Are we
It's
live?
it's switching. Hey,
Yes, you are.
hey,
Oh,
we're
it's
live. I
Kevin.
love the delay. God, I
All
hate
right.
the delay.
Well, all right. Do the intro. This. I
Oh,
mean,
hey.
go
All
ahead.
right,
No,
hold
no.
on.
Deep breath. Deep breath. Podcast voice. Streamer voice.
Me. Okay.
All right.
All right. All right. Let me do that. Let me mute that. All right. Hey, listeners, welcome, or watchers, welcome to Titterpigs Live while we just fumble our way through this as always.
Yes. Happy Halloween, everyone who has popped in, and so we decided to do a live stream again. We're still kind of doing a more streaming presence every once in a while for fun to see how this goes, and we enjoy ourselves and we enjoy the feedback from everyone, but yeah, tonight, in honor of the last day of the spooky season and Halloween, we decided to pop on, and
Womp, womp.
we're going to talk about various things. Have a discussion about horror RPGs. Maybe talk about some movies, books, and Keith is going to talk a bit about 10 Candles, hopefully, as he explains that game to me, as it's one that I've never played, and
I could be persuaded.
I'm interested in it. Well, I mean, Tin Candle seems like something that needs to be done in Oh, you mean talk about it? I thought you meant run it.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to run it right now. No.
No, not now, but run it someday in the near future if we make it to, another convention. But anyways, welcome everyone. I see some familiar people in chat. I see Kevin, also known as Salt Heart, and congratulations. Before we get into the horrific, we'll congratulate you on the Smurfs role-playing game success, and the
Bravo!
continued success. So yes, if you're interested in living nostalgia through the Smurfs, as I am and other people are, we grew up with the Smurfs. There's an official role-playing game out there that you can find that's currently being crowdfunded. Check it out. We'll talk about maybe more about that another day and whatnot. But yes, Smurfs. Smurfing good, Smurfs.
Is that cheerful or horrific? I mean, no, it's cheerful. I have very fond memories of the Smurfs cartoon as a kid. So
yes,
3 apples high and lots of fun. Yes. Let's see who else is in the chat. We got Pookie hanging out in the chat, going by his YouTube name, Unboxing in the Nook. So if you are into Pookie's videos, Unboxing in the Nook is his YouTube channel. Check him out. He does some really cool videos of digging into boxes that he gets of stuff before he reviews them. And we got James Drucker. See, I can say James's name.
Yes, and James is probably still coming down off of the high from his convention, where he had a couple people that might be involved with horror RPGs. I don't know. You may have heard of them. Seth Hook and John Skorkowski. Something like that. I don't know.
I think I've heard of those guys before.
But yes,
I thought it was John Hook.
John Hook. Yes, John Hook. No H.
Oh yeah, and Seth Skorkowski. That's it.
Yes. So it's but yeah, and that I watched some of the live stream that where Seth and John had a wonderful discussion and whatnot. So definitely check that out when you get a moment. So yeah. So Keith.
Scott,
happy Halloween! As you can tell in sunny California, we are in the Halloween spirit with bright lights all around us. The sun is still up, and so yeah, nothing says spooky like a well lit house. So, but I see you're
dark
more in
here
the
in the Carolinas.
it looks like you just survived another hurricane, is what it looks like. So.
I did break out the hurricane supplies to light up my game room. Just to get into the mood for the theme of the live stream. Actually, we were just sitting out at the end of our driveway with our neighbors, handing out candy to the grinning goblins as they run around the neighborhood.
Yes,
begging for candy. Although this year was a little sparse. The local Coastal Carolina Fair opened up today, so that tends to be the major attraction for the year here.
Okay,
so all of
for
the
year.
Yeah, it's actually very, very big here.
No, I mean, but what I'm saying is nothing else happens there all year round.
Like
well, okay.
For kids and attractions, yeah, no, it's the Coastal Carolina Fair. So like when the wife was at school the last few days working as a substitute, all the kids talk about like, I'm not going trick or treating, I'm going to the fair. I mean,
okay.
So like we overbought candy and yeah.
Well, you heard it here first, everyone. If you want to raise children who are bored out of their fucking mind, move to the Carolinas. There will be entertainment once a year.
Yes, absolutely. Needless to say, we have lots of candy. Thankfully, I'm on a diet. But that's horrific unto itself.
Yes. So in the spirit of Titterpigs and our usual way we operate, we sat down and we spent hours and hours meticulously going through a bunch of material so we would be prepared to have this chat.
I made notes. What the fuck are you talking about?
Let's see here. My note says, let's see here. Where did I put it? Okay. Folklore, 10 candles, and buy eggs at the grocery store. So yes,
hold on. I got notes right here. What are you talking about? Oh wait, there's like 2 lines written here, and it says Chato Chupacabra. Oh, wrong game.
Yes.
So that was from Call of Cthulhu. Never mind.
Yeah. So before we bore everyone out of their freaking minds, why don't we talk about something?
Let's do it.
What would you like to discuss? I mean, obviously it's the spooky season, so horror is on everyone's mind, whether it be games, movies, books,
Let's
or whatever.
Let's talk about movies. So when we were preparing for this, we kind of talked about some of our like favorite movies, TV shows, like on the streaming services that we found inspirational, right?
Right.
That we kind of either take inspiration from or just kind of use as fodder or literal nuggets. Not sure. I mean, more so than just inspiration.
Right.
So like I went through like some of my streaming services this afternoon and just I went through some of my mental reminders of like, oh, I remember watching that and I did use this, or, you know, that's like one of my memorable movies. I'm not going to say anything is my favorite, but there are some memorable things that I've watched in the last year or 2, 3 years that I've enjoyed and that I take with me when I game. For you though, give me a movie or a TV show that you found to be either motivational or inspirational for like when you're preparing to run a game or designing something.
Sure. Well, I mean, mine's not going to surprise anyone, but there's a reason why things are popular. There's a reason why tropes exist and all that good stuff. But for me, if one thing that I look to as an example on how to do what most people consider to be a traditional format for running a horror RPG, right? You know, you want to have that slow build. You want them to begin like everything's fine and comfortable, and then start to question things, and then as it progresses, things start to get odd. Things start to get things start to become questioned, and then eventually the horror tends to reveal itself slightly, and then eventually it culminates into, oh my God, the world as I know it does not exist. And classic examples of that for me are always going to be one, The Thing. I watch The Thing every year during the spooky season. And if I find it hard to believe that there's no one out there who's not familiar with the movie The Thing, but the classic movie of a group of people, scientists in Antarctica, come across an alien force of nature, for lack of a better term, who is able to morph itself into other living creatures. And essentially, there's a struggle for survival between the humans that experience this alien. And as it progresses and progressively gets worse, and it opens up a world of horror, paranoia, the question of reality, of everyone around you, who can you trust? And to me, that always that always yields itself to a great general foundation for, a horror RPG. The other one would be, of course, Alien, the original Alien. Now, I think the reason why these are great examples is in the current day and age, with ADHD, short, attention spans and whatnot, those movies could be a hard watch for a lot of the modern audiences because of that slow build. It's like I want to be paid off now. I want blood and guts in my face. I want jump scares and I want, body horrors. And I just want to, those are the people who want the roller coaster to drop, 800 feet on the first incline.
Right.
But those are two standards, right? I mean, I know it's kind of a stereotypical, but those are the two that, if I was going to give an example of, how to lay out your game, and how to hit certain beats, those would be the two that say, watch these and follow what they do. But there's a new one that I just discovered, which I would say doesn't really provide you that foundation, but it does give you inspiration for a typical Call of Cthulhu game. And that is one that I just discovered, which is on, Tubi? Yeah, Tubi. Tubi has both of the movies that from the H.P. Lovecraft Society. Yeah. So there's the Call of Cthulhu one, which the Call of Cthulhu one is essentially the story of Call of Cthulhu done in an old silent movie style. Yeah. But then there's the Whisper.
Is it Whisper in the Dark?
Yes, or Darkness. Darkness. But that's done more in a more traditional, 1930s, 1940s. There's sound and whatnot, and it's an independent production. It is definitely, cheese is a bad term, but it's definitely an independent. I wouldn't say amateur, but it's not a big budget, but it does an excellent job of providing you this, the foundation for what traditional, I would say, Cthulhu horror games, because there's different types.
I watched it the other day because I didn't realize it was on Tubi till you had posted on the socials, right? So I pulled it up and I watched it because I had never seen it, The Whisper, and I wouldn't call it cheesy. I would say that it is low budget, but it's surprisingly decent.
Yeah.
In its quality, its writing. Obviously we know where its inspiration comes from Lovecraft. Sure. It's got a slow build to it. Slow's a relative term. I mean, it's slow and then it starts to speed up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like it goes from like 1 to 4 to 10.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. I wouldn't call it cheesy though.
If you're familiar with their radio dramas, it's essentially that. It's the same production value of where you would find a 1940s kind of horror drama would be.
Right. I'm going to upset some people probably. But it's not like watching the original Star Trek kind of cheesy props and
No, there's some money behind it.
Yeah, there's that's why I'm saying it. I don't see it as cheesy in the sense of like early television and movie props where it's not campy. Right.
I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay, that's fair. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, but it was surprisingly good. And again, it does. I mean, there's no happy endings in a Cthulhu.
Does it need to be
story? No. Well, I mean,
we hope for one.
My agency, there's people out there that would, say that no, they, everything needs a nice, neat, happy bow at the end of it, but that's not what horror is. And this is my opinion, everyone. You're welcome to your own opinion, but it's different. So yeah, so those, I mean, I can name a bunch of others, sure. So I'm not going to go through the list, but there's plenty out there that I think not necessarily inspirational, but provides you the beats that you should kind of follow when you're running the game, because, and even more so because it's not just one person watching a movie over the course of an hour and a half or whatever. It's
Sure.
3, 4, 5 people that you're trying to, for lack of a better term, keep entertained and engaged for 4 hours or multiple sessions of 4 hours. So you don't want to, pardon my French, blow your wad in the first 2 hours.
No, you don't.
So
no, you have to keep your, as a game, you have to keep your players engaged at various milestones.
Right.
Unlike a movie where you build, you hit a milestone or two, and then you get to the climax, and then the movie's over.
Sure. Oh God, damn this. So sorry, I apologize. The beer I'm drinking is highly carbonated, so I'm all sorts of gassy right now. But
you're drinking that IPA crap. That'll.
This is an IPA. This is a pale ale, my friend. IPA.
Okay, it's a derivative of an IPA.
Fuck you.
All right, let me throw a few things out. I do
sure.
Since you brought up the thing, I want to ask you a question because I think it has tones of it, and it's probably inspired by it. Did you happen to see True Detective season 4?
4, remind me of it because I've watched.
So that's
them.
the one. Oh my God,
the Antarctica one?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. Okay. So not necessarily the best of them. Obviously, the first one was probably the first season's the best. But
yeah.
But I think 4 did a pretty good job. And I think it has some of the vibe, right?
Sure.
You have the research station outside of the populated area that is influencing and causing problems with the local town and the local tribes, but it's a place of work. It provides work for people, but yet now there's a mystery with it. There's missing people, and then there's people found in the ice, and all kinds of weirdness is happening. When I watched it, it reminded me a lot of The Thing. So,
sure.
Some of the beats, some of the milestones, the themes,
the snow,
the ice, people dying, all those good things,
all those wonderful things. Yeah.
Kevin in the chat says the recent True Detective was so good. I mean, I agree, it was good. I don't think it was as good as the first one. I think
nothing
hands down was the best. But
no, that was a flash in the pan. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and a lot of people would say, with the exception of the fourth one. The first season, there's no replicating it. They've been chasing it ever since.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that also hits upon, some key aspects for it, right? So, running a good horror game is, and we mentioned it before on the podcast, but I'll say it again, putting your characters, your player characters, your players, in a sense of comfort and familiarity, right?
Yeah.
And then having that rug pulled out from them, to me, is one of the best, right? And
absolutely.
But you also add to the fact that with things such as The Thing and season 4 of True Detective is, so you have that with like the scientific, the science base where all the Antarctic scientists and doctors are at, but then there's also outside of this comfort zone is this immediate emergence of isolation and desolation because they're in Alaska.
Yeah.
And so to put someone in a situation like that where it makes it easier, for them to lose that sense of comfort, in your town, right? There's a familiarity of the town and the people that but there's that copse of woods on the edge of the town, nobody goes there, or something horrible happened there. Or the people within the town have a secret that you found out about, and suddenly, you don't have a comfort zone anymore. To me, that's an important aspect of running like a horror game, as opposed to throwing someone into what most people would consider modern day horror, which is just a bunch of blood and gore. And nothing wrong with that. I enjoy that, but it's a different type of game.
Yeah, absolutely. It has a totally different tone.
Mm-hmm.
So let me throw a couple other movies, TV series that I have found that I like. First one is, it's a podcast inspired, Archive 81.
Okay.
If you're familiar with the podcast, did you get the chance to listen to the entirety of the podcast?
I haven't listened to the podcast. I saw the show, right? Which you and I obviously know the inspiration for that one, or what people might say the inspiration for that one is.
I'm curious what you think the inspiration for that one was.
Oh, I mean, there's people that feel that it's a total rip of the Night Floors. Dennis Detweiler. I mean, those who are familiar with Impossible Landscapes, which is relatively new, campaign. Now, I'm fanning the flames. I don't necessarily believe it, yes or no, but there's a lot of familiarity in there, and
sure,
Detweiler kind of, sort of, maybe not implies that, maybe does, but it's Dennis. Dennis is his own special type of personality. But
yeah, fair.
But with that, but the Night Floors itself was an individual scenario that's been out well before
20 years, 15,
maybe
20 years or something.
So
could it be inspired by it? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate one way or the other.
Well, before you continue, I will say though, excuse me, it is definitely a primer. If you're going to run Impossible Landscapes, you should watch that show for inspiration for running the Night Floors, because it will help you 100%.
I would agree.
So, but anyways, go on.
So, Archive 81, an individual, a gentleman is recruited to, an audiophile is recruited to piece together this antiquated audio archive that's on tape that was damaged in a fire, put these tapes back together, re-record them back onto archival tape, and restore this archive, right? Hence the Archive 81.
Mm-hmm.
But then everything, as he's listening to the tapes, everything, he gets to get a sense of what's on the tapes, and it starts playing havoc with his mind, and everything kind of starts to go wonky from there. Mm-hmm. Now, the TV show on Netflix is only one season. The audio podcast is 3 seasons. They cut the TV show, or the Netflix show, after 1 season.
Yeah, they canceled it.
They canceled it, unfortunately.
It's Netflix.
It is what it is. Now, the podcast is much better than the show.
Okay.
So, if you want a real good primer for running the Night Floors, for either independently or, as part of Impossible Landscapes, take the time and listen to the podcast, the audio drama. Much better than watching the 8 episodes or whatever it is on Netflix.
Okay.
Much better. Because it is really, really good. It's got a very slow burn, lots of things happening, but you don't know they're happening until they further develop, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, I didn't even realize that was actually developing. And then season 2 happens, and things further evolve. It's brilliant.
Okay.
But it's 3 seasons. It's really, really good. But if you just want like a shortened version, slightly modified from the audio version, watch the Netflix, right?
Okay.
It's still not bad.
No.
Another interesting one that I found to be, it's a series. It's a short one-shot series, 8 or so episodes on Netflix, is 1899. a passenger liner is sailing across the Atlantic. There is a distress call. They go to the crew decides they're going to go investigate this distress call from another ship from the company that hasn't been heard of from in a while.
Sounds like aliens to me, but go on.
Okay, well, I don't like aliens, but that's okay. But all is not what it seems, and there is a lot of paradoxical things happening in the background, and this show literally builds slowly and then exponentially starts to increase in speed. And now, while it's not like absolutely in the horror genre, it kind of morphs into a twisted reality, and there's some investigative elements to it that fit with the investigative horror, the bigger piece of the genre, right?
Okay.
And is it the best of shows? No. But is it great? Does it provide some inspirational ideas on how to approach some things? Yes.
Sure.
Because this thing will have you scratching your head until the end, and it goes. And when it reveals some things, you're just like, what the fuck? There are some definite what the fuck moments.
Now, clear moments where you're like, oh, I didn't realize that, or I don't know what the hell is going on, or what they're trying to do.
Clear moments where you're like, I didn't see that coming.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I know much it's like if you're into zombies, watching Black Summer, when they transition from literally they do hard transitions, they go through an entire like scene arc, and then they boom stop and then go to another scene arc, and they do it, and it's just like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Just
oh, okay. You mentioned zombies, right? And that kind of brings up a good point, right? So I think what we've been talking about primarily is more of like I wouldn't say investigative horror, but just for lack of a better term, like slow burn, right? It's a slow burn term.
There's other types of horror.
But when it comes to zombies, for me, I want them in my face. I want Train to Busan. Let's just kind of have a little moment to kind of take a deep breath and then dive right into it. I want hordes. I want people being ripped apart. I just for me, when it comes to like a zombie type horror, it's a struggle to survive. And just
I want The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Not the video game, the show. I enjoyed the shit out of that.
Okay. All right.
I really, really like that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just, it's like the Alien RPG, right? As much as I appreciate their
hold on, you said Alien again. I'm out.
No, but as much as I appreciate their Charity of the Gods scenario, right?
Okay.
And their horrible fucking lie. Oh, you can run this in 4 to 5 hours. No. Yeah.
No, you can't.
No. But I felt that it took a bit too long. Because the reason why people are coming to Aliens is they want to see the alien. And this is
why would you watch The Walking Dead to see strippers? No, you want to see fucking zombies.
Yeah, I mean the human drama is interesting, but I can watch The Wire or something like that. So with that, and this is obviously nothing against you, but that the introductory scenario from the starter set you ran for us for The Walking Dead, there was, it literally within the first few moments, we were experiencing zombie, even though we knew, it wasn't like, you're just experiencing the zombie apocalypse as it's happening, you're well entrenched in it. But within the first few moments, spoilers, you encounter some sort of zombie horror, and it's sprinkled in there generously, right? And at a certain point, you're having to deal with the potential of, a horde and whatnot. So there's different types, and there's different types of horror RPGs, and I feel each one has has provided I guess, the proper mechanics. And Lloyd's here.
Oh shit! Lloyd's entered the chat.
Has provided the proper mechanics for that particular genre, right? And we're not going to get into a whole system matters conversation here, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I feel like system does matter, primarily when it comes to things such as running a horror RPG, right? Fantasy tends to be a little bit more lenient with, oh, you can use this or this or that, but when it comes to things like, there's a reason why. Ravenloft, as well loved as the setting is,
sure,
kind of prove that even if you squint through rose-colored glasses, sure, there's horror you can do with D&D, but are you really doing horror, or are you just accepting the fact that you're allowing it to provide it to you, whereas it's not designed to do what it's said to do? So big tangent.
I think that's going to be for another discussion.
So
all right, I got two more to throw at you, and then we'll move on.
Sure.
All right. So I watched it a few years ago, probably either early pandemic or pre-pandemic. So 4 or 5 years ago, maybe now. As Above, So Below. Are you familiar with it?
No.
It's in the same genre of creepy films as like Blair Witch Project. So
found footage.
Found footage.
Is it foreign? Is it Japanese or Chinese?
No, it is.
Oh, okay.
No, it is not Asian found footage.
No. But what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is the Asian film industry does the best found footage horror.
No. This is So it's the takes place in Paris. The main character is a kind of like a Lara Croft kind of Tomb Raider type persona.
Okay.
She's rooting. What's that?
No, I said okay.
She's rooting around in the catacombs below Paris.
Okay.
And has found an area and that she hasn't explored yet, and she recruits some friends to other subterranean explorers to explore with her. And it goes pear-shaped from there. And while you're watching this, because it is presented as found footage like Blair Witch, you get the sense while you're watching this, like the walls are like dimensionally, the walls are like closing in on you as you're watching this, right? Like that's how I feel like when I'm watching found footage, because I get like sucked into like the vortex of watching it.
Sure. Yeah.
And it is it becomes a very desperate situation. And it gets worse and worse. And it's just it is so much better than Blair Witch. I know that's kind of like the granddaddy of them all, but
sure. Well, they kind of did it first,
Yeah, and it has its place in the genre, but I know As Above, So Below has some mixed critiques out there in the film world, and I am not a film critic, but I found it enjoyable. It had been off Netflix for a while, and I was scrolling through my stuff, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's back on Netflix. I'm gonna watch it again this weekend," because I've enjoyed watching it over the last time it was on, and matter of fact, I reviewed it on not reviewed it, but I wrote about it on my blog years ago, and that's how much I enjoyed the movie.
Cool.
And then the other one was, and this is just a weird, and I'm not going to call it horror, but it is horror, but it's not horror, and it's kind of in your face grotesque. You ever heard of The Platform?
Nope.
So this really weird prison, and it's a tower, and the characters are on a floor in this prison, and there's two of them on this floor. And the center of their prison room is hollow, and an elevator platform drops down from the top to the bottom every day, and on this platform is food. It's starting at the top, and it works its way to the bottom.
Maybe I've seen it.
But it only stops at each floor for a very short period of time, like 60 seconds, 120 seconds, whatever. And you have to stuff your face and eat and eat and eat. And then it drops to the next platform.
Okay.
And then it stays there for a certain amount of time, and then it goes to the next one. And people fight for the food. But what happens every night is basically everybody's gassed, and then they are moved to another platform, another level of this prison.
Okay.
But you don't know where you're going to wake up the next time. And it's all about the prisoners are all realize, especially the main character is like this new prisoner. And it's all about his realization of what the fuck is happening to him.
Okay.
And trying to survive and find a way to escape, and the mental anguish, and it's just interesting in the sense that, like, the mental fortitude it takes to survive something like that, and what mental strain and isolation and deprivation does to somebody. In a cinematic sense.
Is there a Shyamalan twist to it? Do they find out something about this prison at the end, or?
The main character learns a little bit about themselves and about the prison, and of the horrific nature of the environment. So there is a little bit of that kind of twist to it.
So it's sponsored by Taco Bell. They're doing taste testing for the whole thing, right?
Well, maybe the fire at the bottom. I'm just saying.
So, but I mean, you don't need to spoil it. But what I guess so, just because of the convention of how this prison works,
right?
And I've seen plenty of movies where it's like, okay, this something seems off, or this doesn't seem right, and you kind of find out what's going on behind the curtain. So you get that you get some sort of reveal. There is some
peeking behind the curtain through a slow burn reveal of some of it, but yet some of it's still off in the void somewhere where you don't truly understand what's going on.
Okay.
And then come to find out, now there's a platform 2, which I haven't seen yet. There's a sequel.
That's where they're taste testing Chick-fil-A.
Oh shit. The Lord's Chicken. A whole new horror. So, all right. So that's enough on movies.
Okay. No. Okay. Well, no, I've gotten a couple that I don't think I've seen. When you started to explain it, I realized that no, I haven't seen it. But
okay.
It did kind of ring a bell. But yeah, I mean, those are interesting ones. Recently, the only one I've seen recently is other than rewatching my old favorites, is the gross body horror. Is it Terrorizer? The clown.
You were telling me about that. Yeah, not my cup of tea.
Oh no, I mean it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of what the hell moments within it, and it's absurd in its horror, as is a lot of body horror. It's just it's just shock and awe. But this one definitely, has its moments where like, oh, really? So there's a certain thing when it comes to like body horror and torture, like horror movies, where you start questioning, like, is the director in this a bit more than he should be? What is he going for with this? Is this for the entertainment of horror fans, or is this for their twisted entertainment?
I know, right?
But scary fucking clown, that is a deep seated fear in a lot of people.
A lot of people, not necessarily me, but a lot of fucking people.
Yeah. So
all right, so let's talk about what you asked me to talk about. 10 Candles.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So just for those watching. So we were talking about a few games, and of course, with the spooky season, 10 Candles came up. I'm familiar with the game, right? And it's a game that I've had a couple opportunities to jump in on, but I've never played it. But Keith was about ready to explain the game to me. I'm like, wait. let's just go ahead and have you talk about it on the stream, and then if any questions that I have, I'll throw out. So go ahead. 10 Candles.
So in a nutshell, 10 Candles is a tragic horror. So going into the game, everybody's going to die. Okay?
Right. Which will just many people just go, no.
Yeah.
My
you are
choices.
going to die, so embrace it. Okay.
Sure.
That's it. You're going to die.
Right.
Okay. So that being said, the way the game is kind of set up, the front end of it is your character is, you don't have a character sheet. It is, you have a couple of slips of paper in front of you. So when you do character development, you are writing, you have things like virtues and vices and moments and things like that. You're going to have like 5 slips of paper. As you're writing, like everybody's going to write a virtue. And thanks, Pookie. You're going to write a virtue. And then while you're writing your virtue, you're going to light a candle, a physical tea light candle. So hence the 10 candles, right? There's a script in which the facilitator will light these candles.
Okay.
Right. So all the candles are going to be lit at different times, so they have different burn lengths.
Sure.
And so as you write a virtue, and then when you're done, you're going to pass it. The facilitator will say, "Well, then pass it to your left or pass it to your right." So that's one of the things. Like when I ran it for the first time, my players didn't know that. So they're writing, "Well, my virtue is this, or my vice is that." Right. So like my virtue is, I'm smart. Okay, now pass it to your left. Well, fuck.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we played the second game, they knew what was happening then. So then they write their vice and then they pass it to the right. They're like, oh, so they started to catch on to it. So when you're done with character build, you have like 5 stacks, or in a stack, you have these little 5 slips of paper. Okay. Virtue, vice, a moment, and they're in a particular order. And the way this works is as you are playing the game, there's 10 tea lights in either like a little bowl of water.
Sure. Floating.
What's that?
Floating in the bowl of water kind of thing?
No. There's a bowl of water, which is for safety, right? If you need to extinguish a fire.
Oh, I was under the impression that they're floating in a bowl of water.
No. The tea lights are like the little metal tins with the candle in it. Right. And they're set on like a baking tin or whatever, so you don't burn a table, singe a table or whatever, right? So they're all lit and they all have different burn lengths because they've all been lit at different times. So when everything's done and you're ready to start playing, they're all lit. Everybody has like these 5 little slips of paper in front of them, all in the same order. And the game master or the facilitator reads out kind of the introduction of what for lack of a better phrase or term, the scenario is, right?
Sure.
So maybe we start adrift on a disabled ship, and we are in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, halfway between the US and mainland Europe, and the ship has no power. It is absolutely disabled, dead in the water, and that's where the game starts.
Okay.
Now the concept of 10 Candles is the world has gone dark. The things, they could be aliens. They could be some kind of entity, some kind of being has arrived. And they are attracted to, they attack in the darkness and kill people in the darkness, but they are repelled by light, hence the 10 candles.
Okay.
So as you are playing the game, as candles get extinguished, the end draws nearer and nearer, right?
Sure.
Okay, so from a mechanical level, you start with the dice pool. Each round of the game has a dice pool equal to the number of candles. So the game begins when you need to do something. You have 10 candles.
Sure.
So if it's your turn and you say within the fiction, you're like, well, I want to attempt to see if I can get the starter to start the motor, see if we can get the ship moving, right? Get an engine to start, right? Okay, cool. Yep. You're going to I think you can do that. So you're going to roll 10 dice. All you need to do is get 1 6 to succeed. You succeed. Get a 6 on 10 dice. That's it. You retain narrative control, and you tell the rest of the group how you succeed. Any ones you roll, they're temporarily removed from your dice pool.
Okay.
For the rest of the scene. The scene doesn't end until a candle gets extinguished.
Okay.
So let's say you rolled a 1 and 5 5s.
Sure.
Okay. You succeed, but the dice pool is now only 5 dice. We've temporarily removed 5 dice from the dice pool.
Got it.
Okay. But you succeed. You're able to figure out there's a short, you're able to rewire it, and you're able to get one of the motors running. And then you describe getting it running, doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You get to decide, is it enough power to push this ship or not? Maybe it is. Okay.
Okay. So a success allows you to progress the narrative of what you're trying to do.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, if you roll no successes,
right,
no 6s, you have failed. Now,
no 6s.
No 6s. You have failed.
Sure.
Okay. Now, you have a choice to make. Either you can take remember those little slips of paper?
Sure.
So the first one, they're in a particular order. The first one starts as a virtue. Mm-hmm. Your virtue, you can burn your virtue. Mm-hmm. So maybe your virtue is, I am smart, right?
SMRT.
Okay. Yep. So if your virtue is, I am smart, and you can say, well, I want to burn my virtue, you get to reroll dice.
All of them?
Depending on which you're burning, and I haven't played in a couple of years,
sure.
I'm not gonna don't quote me on that. But there are certain dice you can reroll.
Okay.
You would burn that to make that reroll. Literally light it on fire, and then drop it in the water.
Sure, but what does that do though?
So that lets you reroll the dice. If you get a success, then you get narrative control. You move on with the story. But now,
okay, go ahead.
Okay, at that point, if you don't get a success, or you choose not to burn one, that the virtue, the vice, whatever's on top of the stack, you have failed.
Okay,
and then we extinguish a candle.
So, quick question before we move on.
Yep.
Does burning that have any negative effects though? I mean, in my game mind, I'm thinking, well, if I burn that, I'm no longer smart.
So a virtue and a vice are ways to do reroll. Each one of those things has a particular thing it's tied to. Particular elements, mechanical elements, different types of rerolls, or adding a particular type of die.
Okay, so virtue
into the die pool. They have mechanical elements attached to them.
Okay, so if I burn something, I lose a mechanical
that ability
element
to do it again.
To do certain things. Okay, got it. Okay, perfect.
When you get further down the stack, there's one called one that brings in a hope die. The hope die stays with you. You get to use that die again and again, unless something else happens.
Okay,
now, go ahead.
Real quick, in order to get to that, you need to burn through your stack though, right? So
yes.
whatever's on. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
hope is you are getting down to the last of your.
Got it.
Internal testicular fortitude, as it were.
Right. Got it. Okay. All right. Carry on.
So now that's one part of the mechanical element, right? If we extinguish the candle because you failed on a reroll, or you didn't want to reroll and said, nope, I don't want to reroll. It's a failure. All right.
Okay.
We extinguish a candle. There's a little script that's read. The scene ends, and we move on to the next scene. Wherever that next scene starts. During the transition between scenes, every character, every person, including the facilitator, gives a truth. Okay. So what the truths are, you would say. You could say something like, it's raining outside. I could say, water is running down the hallways on all of the decks.
These are the players.
These are the players.
Got it.
Every player utters a truth. So truths are narrative fact.
Got it. Okay.
So anytime what they become narrative facts, and then nobody can contradict the narrative facts. So if you say it's raining outside, somebody can't say, when they're talking about the story, can't say it's not raining outside.
Can you say a truth that directly affects the player character? Like, can you say Stephanie is sick? And if you don't know, that's fine. Okay, but no.
No,
okay.
You can't. But they're usually environmental. Like you could say, so let's say we'll come off the ship, and let's say we're in a town, right?
Sure.
You could say we arrive, we've left the sheriff's station and we've arrived at the town hall. That's now a fact. So the next scene's going to be at the town hall. You've just declared the next scene will be at the town hall.
So, I mean, but is there anything that stops them from essentially strong arming positive aspects, like the police arrived, or to take us to safety or anything like that, or the Coast Guard showed up to bring us to shore? Right.
Yes and no. So remember, this is a tragic horror story.
Right. And
so everybody's collaboratively working together to tell a tragic story.
True, but
there is no happy fucking ending in this story.
But players are players, and they're going to try.
Doesn't
to
matter.
It last as long.
If you want a happy ending in this story, don't play this fucking game.
No, but I mean, is there a mechanic where if all the players try to make it sunshine and rainbows, what's the turn it to steer and course correct it back to?
It's easy.
Tragic and okay.
It's easy.
You
can all have sunshine and rainbows. So the way this is going to work is, so the other part of the mechanics I hadn't gotten to yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So let's say everybody has sunshine and rainbows in the truths, right?
Right.
Except the sun, because obviously there is no sun. Everything's gone dark. It's like the sun extinguished, right?
Got it.
So sunshines and rainbows, metaphorically speaking. But in the next round, now the candle's gone out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have 9 candles.
Sure.
So you only have 9 dice. Well, the facilitator has 1 die. Now I as the facilitator are rolling against you every time you roll now.
Oh, you get the dice every time a candle comes out.
Every time a candle gets extinguished, the game master or the facilitator gets the extinguished candle dice.
Oh yeah, fuck that.
So what this is narrative control. It's all about narrative control.
There you go.
So if, let's say there's 5 candles extinguished, Scott, you get to roll 5 dice. I get to roll 5 dice.
Right.
Okay. If you roll, let's say you roll a 1, a 6, and we don't care about the other dice, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I roll you roll 2 6s and a 1. I roll 1 6, and I don't care about the other dice, right?
You're right.
So I've got 1 success. You have 2 successes and a 1.
Sure.
We take your 1 away and move it off to the side. It comes out of your temporarily comes out of your dice pool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have 2 successes. I have 1 success. You've succeeded. You retain narrative control of whatever it is you wanted to do. You get to narrate how you succeed.
Oh.
Okay. But let's reverse this.
Let's
reverse this.
Yeah.
I have 2 successes. You have 1 success.
Yeah.
You have succeeded, but I get narrative control.
Right.
I get to decide, yes, Scott, you wanted to bash down that door looking for ammunition for the shotgun that you have in your possession because of fucking rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
You wanted to see if there's ammunition behind that door. You bash down that door. Yes, there's ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 shotgun shells. Oh, but by the way, you only find the 2 shotgun shells, but you've caused enough noise that you've drawn the attention of people outside that think you're there now that you're their savior. And they're trying to get into the building. Now what are you going to do? I've just created more chaos for you.
Sure.
So, yeah, you've succeeded, but now I got to narrate how that evolved, because you wouldn't have done that to yourself.
Oh God. I mean, I personally love the premise. I am a big fan of just like, the world is shit, and you're going to be playing this game for about 5 to 10 hours or whatever it is, and it's going to end up still being shit when you're done. I'm like, yes.
Well, so not 5 to 10 hours. This game will literally play out in about 2 hours.
No. My point is this game is only for a particular mindset within the hobby.
It is.
I mean, there's instantly like a dozen people I can think of that would absolutely hate this game. Not because it's not creating an evocative story and it's a fun game to play, but just the fact that it creates a contentious relationship between the person running the game and the players. And I tell them, grow up. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, because this is the game. This is not your Dungeons and Dragons doesn't belong here, because this is what the game means and how it's supposed to relate to you playing it. And if you don't like having those certain aspects missing, then it's not for you. And and
it gets worse in a good way. So
hold on. Thumbnail.
So when all of the candles are extinguished, there's basically like one more round, right?
Sure.
So when everything is, as we're getting down to the last thing, there's no more candles, there's one candle left. Right. Every player, every time they make a roll at that point forward, if they fail the roll, they narrate their demise. Like their demise is narrated. This is why everybody is working toward, like, collectively and collaboratively working towards the storytelling of everybody's demise. Everybody's working towards that same end goal.
Right.
That's why I said this is a tragic storytelling game. Everybody's going to die at the end, and when the last person's character is dead, that last candle is snuffed out.
Right. So
now one of the weird elements of the game. Remember, I told you whenever you fail, right, a candle is snuffed out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So a candle can go out 2 other ways, which will end a scene and change the dynamics, right? A die is transferred from the player pool to the game master or the facilitator pool. Right. New truths are laid out. The scene is forwarded to the next. You move from one scene to the next, moving the story forward. So if Scott, if you get huffy puffy at the table and you're like, right, you have a adult baby moment and you blow out a candle by accident. Scene ends. That's it. There's no relighting the candle.
Can the players intentionally blow out a candle?
They could. Ooh. I wouldn't recommend it.
No,
because again, a die transfers from the player pool to the game master.
Right.
And the scene forwards, and that speeds up the demise of all of the players.
Now, can people die before the last scene?
It's possible when there's nothing left in front of them.
So if
there's no slips of paper left in front of them, they've lost all hope.
So again, what makes them burn the papers? Just so I'm clear.
So each one of the slips of paper, the virtue, the vice, the moment, the hope, and then there's like the last ditch thing. I think there's 5 of them.
Sure.
Each one of those is tied to a mechanical thing. Like the virtue is tied to like a reroll of like all the dice.
Right.
The vice is tied to a reroll of certain dice.
Right.
The hope is tied to adding a hope die into your die pool. It's a special die.
What causes him to burn it again, though? I mean, like what?
So like when you fail a die roll, you don't
Right.
have a success. That's when you can tap into these things.
But is it your choice to burn?
Yes, it is solely your choice.
Interesting.
But it has to. So like if let's say your vice, you've burned your virtue, it's now your vice.
Right.
Your vice is on top, and your vice is I don't know.
I always want to succeed.
Or always want to I don't know. Let's think of like a really obscure vice, because remember, somebody else is writing it for you.
Oh, okay.
So let's say your vice is pornography. I don't know.
Sure.
For you to be able to burn that, you have to then weave it into it's basically like retconning. You're going to retcon the narrative, and you have to weave that back into it.
Sure.
It's like doing a pushed roll in Call of Cthulhu, right? What are you going to do differently, and then weave that into that little bit of narrative fiction?
Sure. Hi, Janelle.
Oh my God. My wife has entered the chat.
So,
sweet baby Jesus.
So I could see, for people who are into this kind of thing, right? Not just being contentious, towards the GM, but towards other players. Like a perfect scenario for something like this would be, you're like the Titanic, right? Your ship is sinking. It's you and 5 or 6 or however many people there are, on the lifeboat. You don't know how long you're going to be at sea, but there's only enough food there to keep 3 people alive till you're rescued. And so as time progresses, they could turn on each other. They can, create factions, and eventually, once it's all said and done, and suddenly they realize that none of them are going to survive.
I mean, legitimately, you could have that happen.
Right.
I will throw this out, though. If anybody wants to hear like a really, really good YouTube actual play, I know actual play, especially video ones, are some people's jams, others not so much.
Right.
Hyper RPG about 6 years ago did a fan-fucking-tastic one.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in audio format, but I know it's on YouTube. Just look up Hyper. I think it's Hyper-RPG from 6 years ago. They did a really, really good one. If you look up on my blog on today, Halloween, I posted an article, my review of this game, in fact, and at the bottom of that review is a link to the Hyper RPG's YouTube. I don't remember how many parts it was, but they did a fantastic adaptation of this made for a YouTube stream. So the rules are slightly modified with using battery-powered candles versus actual tea lights. They believe it or not, they did a really, really good job. Really good storytelling. It will give you a really good feel for the game.
I get it, but for me, just when the last candle's out, it's and for the dramatic effect. But no, okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So all right, so thank you. So all right, I get its popularity. Then I get why people run it. I get why people enjoy it, and I get what it's trying to do, and I can see how it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a slower, it's I wouldn't say slower, but it's not unlike how Allison is Missing is handled to a degree. Not the same thing, but that general idea of you're a group of people and you're thrust into this situation that you have no control over, and ultimately the ending you're going to get is not what the players want, or not what the characters want, but it's what the players are going to end up getting. And I can see how at the end of both of those, where you may need to take a little breather, because I can see where it can get very intense very quickly.
It can,
especially as the GM starts getting their dice, and and the powers that be start playing against you.
I would argue, though, it's definitely not as intense as Alice is Missing.
No, it doesn't sound like it, but
it's not as adversarial as you might think it is.
I haven't run it yet.
So, I know you haven't.
Just wait. No,
yeah, I know. Now, it could become adversarial, but again, it's a collaborative storytelling game.
Sure.
Everybody's all working together because the game master, facilitator, whatever you want to call the individual, they are equally a player in the game.
Yeah.
They don't have the character. It slips in front of them with the virtue, vices, moments, hopes, all that stuff, right?
Sure.
But they are an equal at the table with the rest of the regular players. They are just kind of facilitating everything, some of the script bits and right. all of that.
But still, you're there to create chaos as the person running the game and to ultimately guide them to the best narrative ending that you can provide. Because I mean that's the goal. Is once the last candle is snuffed out, you want you're tracking this story, something that when it's the end, it's going to make you think and hopefully think. Obviously it depends on the players and the person running it.
Well, yeah, because I mean I can tell you, like when I facilitated the game on the ship, right?
Right.
The ship ended up running into an oil derrick. Didn't see that coming. In the middle of the fucking Atlantic. And they ended up leaving the ship onto the oil derrick. The players met their demise in the darkness. Their flashlights, their lighters, everything they had all went dark. Batteries ran out, what have you, when the last candle went out. Sure. They met their darkness in a mechanics room or a mechanical room on the oil derrick. We don't know what killed them. We don't know what killed the last player or what killed any of the players in the darkness, because the entities, the they, the thems, right? Whatever's come from outer space, as it were. We don't know what they are because it's never, the rules never explain, the game never explains and describes what they are.
Well, if you're on the right, it's pronouns coming to get you.
Well, I don't give two shits about that.
So
the game says they came.
Right.
So, and they are attracted, they are repelled by light. So, but as the candles burn out, they are more and more, they are drawn more and more to you because you are illuminated less and less. Right. So
cool.
The last element of the game, and then I'll shut up about the game, is the candles can naturally burn out. Remember, I told you they are staggered in their lighting as you do the character reading out some of the script about the story.
Sure, a tea light's not going to last forever. Yeah,
right. They only burn for about 2 hours.
Right.
2.5 hours, I think, is the average burn time for them. Maybe 3 hours tops. So they're staggered in their lighting as you do the character virtue, vices, and all of this, and pass them left, pass them right, write your own. The facilitator reads a little bit about the story, what have you, and that's it. And then so they have this staggered start. So if they burn out naturally, that ends the scene again. Right. So there's several ways that candles burn out.
Yeah, exactly.
So
interesting. Well, I mean, it gives me a reason to try to run it, because I think
you should. You absolutely should.
It'd be a lot of fun. I do have a group of people that I know locally that would be totally into that. So there's two that I wanted to run. They kind of fall in the opposite ends of the coins of the horror spectrum. Of course, because of their mechanics. There's Tin Candles and there's Dread, right? And you're familiar with Dread, the whole Jenga thing.
Yep, I'm familiar with both.
But Tin Candle sounds a bit more interesting. Not that there's anything wrong with Dread, but there's certain.
I've played both. Yeah.
There's a couple things with Dread. I'm like, okay, but at least with Tin Candles, there's an expectation that everyone's on the same roller coaster ride, right? Everyone knows where it's going to essentially end up.
Right.
So you're enjoying the ride. It's not about the destination. It's about making the most of the ride. Whereas Dread's a bit different in how it
Yeah,
works.
but I do like Dread's use of the Jenga tower.
Oh, it's
building tension.
Oh no, it's a neat mechanic.
Yeah.
But there's two types of tension, right? And of course, within Dread itself, the tower can fall down by itself. Someone could, I'm going to the bathroom, kick the table, it falls over. That counts. So it's
just like in 10 Candles, somebody can knock not knock, but accidentally blow out a candle by turning sideways, and the sweep of their hand is enough of airflow to blow a candle out.
Right.
So same thing.
So it's got me thinking. I would imagine that someone has incorporated like 10 Candles into like you're familiar with Werewolf, right? I can imagine someone has incorporated something like that. Because I mean, for me, the 10 Candles aspect and the possibility of someone sabotaging or blowing out the candle could play into a particular situation where, I didn't blow out the candle. It was a mistake, and the suspicion grows and whatnot like that. So it's got me thinking.
I could see that being a really weird dynamic, but I don't know that would happen more than like one time. Let's say there's a group of 5 people playing and somebody does that. I don't see the other 4 people wanting to play with that person after that one time. Well, I mean, because it's not a game of like Werewolf or what is it, Babylon, the board game, right? Babylon 5, where there's a Cylon, there's a hidden character.
Any sus type game, yeah.
Yeah. There's no suspect type character. Everybody's collaboratively working to tell the same story of how you go from here, point A, to point B, where everybody meets their tragic end.
Right. But there's a way to make it work. Anyways.
I mean, if you can make it work. Last shout out for the game. It's the game's published by Cavalry Games. Stephen Dewey's the author. It's available in print and PDF from their website. The PDF's $10. The print's $28.
Yeah.
Go check out their website. If it interests you, check it out, please.
Yeah.
It's a great game.
Cool. Well, you have been talking pretty much for the entire hour,
I know,
I'm
sorry.
So no, don't apologize. But we're coming on in just about an hour and 15 minutes. So and it's getting dark here, and we're probably going to be getting kids knocking on our door any minute now. So what do you say? Unless there's anything else you want to touch on, that we wrap this up shortly. Why don't we go ahead and close just real briefly? Why don't we? What is our? We'll let you start. Favorite horror RPG, or it doesn't necessarily be favorite, because they're like children. I understand.
I know,
but if you have a preference.
All right. So before that, so our friend Scott Woodard is joining the chat.
Oh, hey, Scott.
Welcome, Scott. Thanks for joining.
You're a goober.
Scott is a goober. So I would throw out 2.
It better start with Pine and with Box, and Scott's watching.
Well, that's not a horror game. No, I'm going to throw out
Pine
2.
Box Middle School's a horror game. All right, go on.
That's a creepy horror game. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So obviously I like 10 Candles because of the type of game that it is, right? The story, the type of story that it wants to tell. I also dearly enjoy Delta Green.
Right.
And then a runner-up is obviously Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
And any derivatives thereof of those 2 games.
Right. Okay.
So there are other games that I do like, but those are ones that kind of like rise to the top.
Okay. Well, besides Pine Box Middle School, the one that I absolutely really like, and for a lot of people that this may fall flat, and it's built upon a mechanic that outside of it I never really enjoyed other than this particular game, and that is Colt, right? So, strap on my leather duster, my fishnet shirt, my leather pants, because yes, I'm going goth
Whoa,
right now.
whoa, hold on. Are we going to the Tingleverse?
Yeah, no. But for several reasons. One, because the the idea of cult and how it presents itself, the fact that we are essentially mediocre humans trapped in a world that outside influences have betrayed ourselves, and then that we're slowly finding out that this reality that we exist in isn't real, and that's nothing new, right?
Right.
But
Cult is a great game.
but
I
add
just
to
can't read
that,
the fucking rules.
but add to that just the absolute, just evocative artwork, right? It's it's Hellraiser, it's Preacher, it's all those things. God is dead, but is he, or is he just missing? And who are these other people that are in charge that's telling us how to run our world? But it is something where the usually the horror is the horror that comes from games like this is, once you realize what is real and you defeat those in charge, that's a win. But in Cult, it's the opposite. You don't want to know what's real, and once you find out what's behind the curtain, it's even worse. I mean, and it's absolutely horrific. And not only do they not want you to know what's beyond the curtain, they're going to try to do their best to stop you and others. So, and again, it's not something that's new, but for some reason, just Cult really just hits home with a lot of the familiar horrific tropes on so many different levels, and so it's. But and also add to the fact that it's the only Powered by the Apocalypse game to date that I actually enjoyed and worked within the scope of it. So there's a couple reasons why, and I've tried. Trust me, I've played several PBTA games, and nothing has hit home like this for whatever reason. But yeah, it's more the Cult universe, and I do think that.
Have you tried Lesbian Love Connection?
Only in college
for a friend.
Only in college when I was paying for my tuition.
Oh, okay. Just asking for a friend.
What? No. Have I tried what? But I also say, I forget the name of the scenario, but the one solo scenario, the one-on-one scenario that they have, I think it's like the vehicle of the car, where essentially it's like it's utilized as a character creation process. You're escaping from a criminal event, and it's you in an old
I know
car.
which one you're talking about.
Right. God, I read it like a month ago. I wish I would have read it beforehand. But it is also one of the, it just nails what they're trying to do with Cult just right out the gates. Whereas other introductory horror games.
Myself. Yeah, but Sue, our friend Sue Savage.
Yes.
Her adaptation of
Unland
by Scott Dorwood is phenomenal.
Scott's watching. We don't mention Dorwood when Scott's watching.
Listen.
Scott meets Scott. Scott Dorward, the one who edited Octoon Cthulhu games?
For fuck's sake, do not get them started. Do not get this Scott started, Scott.
Oh no.
Oh my god. But anyways, no,
yes.
Sue did a phenomenal job at adapting Scott Dorwood's Unland scenario, originally for Call of Cthulhu.
I thought that was Unknown Armies. Was it Unknown Armies?
No, I thought it was Call of Cthulhu. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Oh, no. I'm thinking of Lampposts in Bloom. My bad.
Lampposts in Bloom was Unknown Armies, correct.
Yes.
I believe it was originally Call of Cthulhu, and then she adapted it to Cult. And I did have, like you, I had the opportunity to play, and she did a phenomenal job adapting it over. And it was a wonderful scenario, appropriately creepy, and I don't remember if that was my first or second time playing Cult. I really enjoyed it. I really want to like Cult. I don't mind Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Yeah.
But for fuck's sake, I cannot read that damn rule book.
Huh.
It is dense. Like, there is just like 1,000 words per page. I mean, it is just its layout.
Are you reading the Bible or are you reading
No,
the
no,
actual...
I have both versions. I have the regular version, I have the Bible version.
Oh, yeah, because the Bible is just text.
It's just tiny text too. I need a magnifying glass to read it.
Wow. Okay.
But no, it is just its layout, the way in which it's laid out. It's the
rough.
font is a little smaller. It's very, very dense. I think it's called the kerning, the spacing, and all of that.
Yeah.
It's just very, very dense.
And the artwork, the layout and all that, it's just...
I like the artwork. I don't
No,
care
nothing wrong
that
with the artwork.
Grotesque, but
the graphical design aspect of how sometimes the words merges within the art itself, because
it's very verbose. It is very overwritten, in that as somebody who reads a lot to review, that just turns me off when I feel like I'm overreading something, and it's just like, can you just tell me what you want to fucking tell me? I don't need 3 pages to tell me what one paragraph will tell me.
Right. So before we end our stream, I just want to give another shout out to Scott Woodard, and I believe if you go to pinnacle.com, there's one more day left. I could be mistaken, but you can pick up a copy of Pine Box Middle School right now, the box set, for 20% off. So if for those who are watching live, go check it out. I know there's only a couple people here, but but if you're listening to it after the fact, still go check it out. I don't know if the sale ends or not, but yeah, definitely check out Scott's
Even
game.
if the sale ends, go check it out.
Yeah,
Scott's done a fantastic job putting this together. Super creative. He does say, "Yep, wraps up tomorrow. All of our horror stuff is 20% off."
Yes.
So, yep, go check this stuff out. Even if you missed the sale, go check out his stuff. He does fantastic work. It's
worth the full cost of admission, But it's always nice to have a discount, but don't let this dissuade you from checking out the game. So
absolutely.
Well, we had a good healthy amount of people in for our little shits and giggles stream tonight for a little fun chat. We did. I learned a lot about 16 candles or whatever it's called.
Whatever. 12 dildos, 16 candles. I don't know.
You're going to get us demonetized, Keith.
I don't care.
We're not even monetized. Don't fucking worry
exactly.
But yeah. So, but no, I learned what I want to know about 10 Candles, and if I was interested in playing it or trying it, and if it was worth, what all the love and adoration it's about for the game, and all the other things out. So everyone, we appreciate you popping on. Obviously this YouTube thing, the live stream is secondary from our podcast, but it's fun to do. And, and we will definitely be downloading the audio, and we'll be putting this up as a bonus edition for the podcast for those who don't want to look at Keith's ugly face. Thanks, Zane. You got a zinger from Zane.
Wow. Is that Zane?
Yeah, that's Zane. They're here to hang out.
Damn. Thanks, Zane.
That's the RPG with Molly Ringwald. Exactly.
Wow.
Where you wake up and Long Duck Dong is standing over you. So,
damn it.
But anywho, everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm going to go hand out candy now. Keith is going to...
I'm going to go finish my beer, and I'm probably going to go to bed because I got to get up at the crack of dawn to go smash spreadsheets again.
Right. Well,
so, you know what? I'm going to roll on out of here. So, again, thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. And you know what, Scott? Enjoy your trick-or-treaters. I've already dealt with mine.
Right. All right. Good night, everybody. Wah. There we go. All right. And I'll stop recording here. All right. So...